This battle report may contain content that isn't suitable for younger audiences and that some people may find distressing, such as descriptions of violence, particularly gruesome descriptions of death, or spooky skeletons. If you think there's a chance it may contain something you would find unpleasant, please check the description below for a quick list of everything in the video. For the Knights of Bretonnia, there is no greater calling than that of the Lady of the Lake. When she, or one of her damsels, gives instruction, none would dare not listen. The knight, Olivier Cobouche, was no different. When the damsel Lorence la Gajant and Grail Knight Huget de Craon came to him with a mission from the lady, he was honored to accept. When he discovered his mission was taking him to the Border Princes region, he was none too happy, though he'd never admit as such. He assembled his knights and led them to the town of New Couronne. The town had been established many years ago by Bretonnian settlers and enjoyed a steady stream of knights answering the call to protect them. Olivier arrived within the week of the previous ruler's passing, and he naturally assumed command of both the town and the villages around it. As the second son of a baron, he had a lot of experience with domestic affairs such as this, though not as much experience as he had in jousting, which served him well in driving off the greenskin and beastmen threats in the area. Under his watchful eye, New Couronne flourished, and many surrounding villages came under his protection as well. For a few years, things seemed to be going well, and then a necromancer passed through. He was looking for stories about the local region, and after hearing about a nearby tomb, he left to investigate it. Normally, this would be the last anyone would see of this man, but he was particularly resilient and lucky, and the small army of undead he assembled was enough to overrun Kefri's tomb and steal the knowledge and relics within. With his newfound power, this necromancer, one Alex Shot, raised zombies, skeletons, and wights, raided more ruins to gain ever more relics, and even brought a banshee and black coach under his command. It wasn't long before he turned his gaze to the towns of the region, and the life of luxury that could be enjoyed ruling over one. After much searching, he settled on New Couronne as the start of his new empire. He brought his forces to bear outside the walls of the town and got ready to lay siege. But Bretonnian knights don't take kindly to sieges, and so Olivier Cobouche took to the skies with his Hippogryph and led his knights onto the field of battle. As the sun rose, both sides formed their battle lines. They stood for an hour, watching each other to see who would make the first move. Finally, the Bretonnians dismounted and took a knee to pray to the lady in preparation to join the battle. Alex knew what that meant. The Battle of New Couronne had begun. Today's game is a 2,000-point solo game of Warhammer Fantasy 6th edition, played between vampire counts and Bretonnia. The deployment of both sides were developed in tandem before the battlefield was finalized. As the Bretonnians are praying to receive the lady's blessing, they will be taking the second turn. Before I introduce the armies, I would like to highlight a few stylistic changes in this video. First, we have the new icon I've put into use. In the voice for the game, I kept forgetting about units causing fear. It's been an issue in past videos too, and this time I decided enough was enough and gave all units that cause fear and terror a new icon. It'll help me remember and help those of you who watch my videos but don't play the game better understand what's going on. The other change is that for this game I'm using HeroForge to make the models instead of the classic GW minis whenever possible. This is for two reasons. The first is that there is a finite number of hero models available. If I want to have unique looking named characters, something like this is essential to make everyone visually distinct. The second is that in the future I want to explore other systems where there might not be official models to use, and getting used to HeroForge models now makes that transition in the future much smoother. With all that out of the way, let's introduce the armies. The Vampire Count army is being led by Alex Shot. He is a Master Necromancer now, upgraded to a level 4 wizard, and carries a Staff of Sorcery and a Power Familiar. He rolls for spells and gets Hand of Dust, Hellish Vigor, Gaze of Nagash, and Curse of Years. He replaces Hand of Dust with Invocation of Nehet. He is joined by two White Lords, Frisso and Ingolf. Both are mounted on Barded Nightmares and wear heavy armor. Friso carries the Sword of the Kings and an Enchanted Shield, while Ingolf bears the Banner of the Barrows. Both White Lords are accompanied by a unit of 5 Black Knights. Both units have barding on their mounts and a full command group. These units deploy on the flanks, with Friso deployed on the left and Ingolf on the right. In the center of the battlefield sits 2 units of 38 zombies, each with a standard, and between them a unit of 30 skeletons equipped with spears and light armor. Finally, beside Alex stands Ludgera, a banshee, and on the far left flank sits a black coach. Alex's overall game plan is to tie up the Bretonnian Knights with his blocks of disposable infantry, while his Black Knights charge their flanks and crush them. On the Bretonnian side, the army is led by Olivier Cobouche, a Bretonnian Lord on Hippogryph. He has the virtue of the Joust and carries the Heartwood Lance and an Enchanted Shield. He is joined by the Paladin Huget de Craon, a knight with the Grail Vow who carries the Banner of the Lady. He rides with a unit of 11 Grail Knights deployed in the center of the formation. The army also contains the Damsel, Lorence la Gajant. She is a level 2 wizard mounted on a warhorse and carrying the Silver Mirror. She takes the Lore of Beasts and rolls for spells. She gets the Crow's Feast and the Wolf Hunts. Standing against such a powerful necromancer, it's unlikely she'll do much, but the Silver Mirror will allow her to deny at least one spell. The army contains a unit of 10 peasant bowmen deployed in a skirmish formation on the flank. In the center, on either side of the Grail Knights, sits the main host of knights, 2 units of 15 Knights of the Realm. They each carry a war banner into the fight and are arrayed in the Lance formation. Lance formation is a unique ability for the Bretonnian forces. When deployed in a formation 3 models wide and fighting to the front, they may attack not just with the first row of knights, but also each knight on the flanks of the formation. This allows a formation of 15 knights to bring 11 of them to bear against the enemy. The Bretonnian plan is simple. They will charge at the enemy, engage them in melee combat, and smash through the lines to win the day, as all good Bretonnian knights do. The first Vampire Count's turn sees almost nothing happen. The Black Knights scoot forward a little bit, while Alex Shot casts Invocation of Nehek and miscasts, preventing him from casting any further spells this turn. The Bretonnian Knights respond by surging forward, galloping towards the assembled undead. On the flanks, the peasants advance and fire on the zombies, killing 2 of them, while Olivier and Lawrence move up the other flank. Lorence casts the Wolf Hunts to push the Grail Knights forward, but she is dispelled by Alex Shot. Seeing Olivier threatening the flank, the Black Coach charges towards him, hoping to kill him, or failing that, keep him tied up and unable to disrupt the plan. It deals 2 wounds with the impact hits, but the Blessing of the Lady saves one of them, giving only 1 wound back to the Black Coach. Both Olivier and his Hippogryph hit back, and each deal 1 wound, winning the fight by 1 and inflicting another wound, leaving the Black Coach with just 3 remaining. Meanwhile, Alex moves to deal with the Grail Knights. He casts Invocation of Nehek, which Lorence attempts to dispel, but fails. He raises a fresh unit of 7 zombies directly in front of the skeletons. With this, he prevents the Grail Knights charging the skeletons this turn, and buys his formation more time to crush the Knights of the Realm. He follows this up by casting Curse of Years on the Grail Knights, and succeeds. With this spell, and the added layer of zombies, the Grail Knights are likely to be wiped out in several turns. Foreseeing this outcome, Lorence makes use of the Silver Mirror, dispelling the spell automatically and wounding Alex with a Strength 6 hit. Seeing the way the Damsel has protected them, Huget calls for the Knights to charge. The Grail Knights and the Knights of the Realm crash into the line of the zombies ahead, ready to blow through them all. It's only after he's engaged that Huget realizes that the left flank has lost their nerve and failed to complete their charge. Even without one flank, the Knights smash through the lines of undead. The Grail Knights kill the zombies before them and overrun into the skeletons, while the Knights of the Realm cut down 13 zombies, with many more crumbling to the attrition of the fight. Seeing the Black Knights looming on the flanks, both the peasants and Lorence attempt to deal with them with arrow and spell, but their armor is too thick for the former, and the latter is easily dispelled by Alex. The final hope for stopping them falls to Olivier, but he fails to damage the black coach, while his Hippogryph only inflicts one wound, not enough to break free of the fight. The Black Knights execute their charge on the right flank. Seeing an undead mockery of themselves charging their flank, the knights turn tail and run, fleeing through the Grail Knights. The Black Knights give chase and slam into the flank of the living saints. The Banshee, Ludgera, gives chase to the fleeing knights behind the lines and howls at them, killing one of them in terror. Meanwhile, Alex works to shore up his lines, casting Invocation of Nehek on the decimated zombies to restore 12 to their ranks, and Hellish Vigor on his skeletons to allow them to strike first against the charging knights. Even so, it's not enough. The skeletons fail to pierce the thick armor of the Bretonnians, while the Black Knights only manage to kill one of them. A full half of the skeletons fall in the charge, and most of their unit crumbles, alongside the Black Knights. The Grail Knights grab both of the standards from the decaying undead and hold them aloft. Meanwhile, Olivier crushes the Black Coach. The successes of their comrades helps the Knights of the Realm rally, and they reform to charge once more. Regrettably, their flight had blocked the angle of approach for their fellow Knights of the Realm, leaving them unable to charge the zombies this turn either. Olivier, meanwhile, carries his success on to charge at the Black Knights. He cuts down 3 of them before Friso strikes back. With the Sword of the Kings, he easily beheads Olivier. The death of his master isn't enough to turn the Hippogryph away from his duty, and despite taking a hit, he stands tall in the fight. The zombies on the right flank move forward to give Alex room to move behind them and get away from the Grail Knight's line of sight now that they've crushed the remaining skeletons. He casts both Gaze of Nagash and Curse of Years at the Grail Knights. The first fails to do any damage, while Curse of Years fells one of them. Ludgera moves a bit closer and howls at the knights again, killing 2 of them. In response, the knights charge at Ludgera, as well as the zombies beside her, getting into a fight with both units. The Knights of the Realm behind them try to muster their courage once more, but fail to do so, and continue to remain in place. Huget, meanwhile, breaks from the Grail Knights to pursue Alex, leaving the Grail Knights to wheel and get into position to attack the zombies in the rear before the end of the battle. Lorence casts the Wolf Hunts once more, and manages to roll a 15, a promising result, which is unfortunately dispelled with a heartbreaking roll of 16. The Knights of the Realm are unable to hit the Banshee with their unenchanted weapons, but they can hit the zombies and manage to cut down 5 of them. This is enough to win the combat by 1 point, killing another zombie and wounding Ludgera, while she fails to do any damage in return this turn. On the far flank, the Hippogryph and the Black Knights fail to do any damage for a turn, before finally the Black Knights inflict a single wound. This sends the Hippogryph fleeing to safety, which leaves the Black Knights free to charge at the Knights of the Realm, who thus far have been unable to muster the nerve to fight. 2 of the knights are killed, and the rest flee before being run down in a shameful display. The other Knights of the Realm manage to kill another 5 zombies, and Ludgera's grip on the world is destroyed, sending her soul screaming back to wherever it belongs, though not before she manages to let out a final, blood-curdling howl, which stops the hearts of 3 knights. The Curse of Years continues to plague the Grail Knights, and 3 more of them die before Lorence can dispel the foul magics. The battlefield is now clearly in shambles as the game draws towards its conclusion. The Hippogryph rallies, ready to be useful in the final turn. Huget charges at the zombies, hitting them in the rear. This is a great opportunity to make a decisive blow. Unfortunately, he fails to do any damage and is sent fleeing in the face of the undead. The Knights of the Realm don't fare any better, only managing to kill 1 zombie. With their momentum running out, they turn and flee as well. The Grail Knights, meanwhile, prepare to charge into Alex's unit, hoping to cut down the Necromancer once and for all. In his final turn, Alex brings his unit around and casts Curse of Years on the Grail Knights. In a stroke of good luck, he manages to kill 3 of them, greatly blunting the threat that they pose. Even so, they still execute a charge, and Alex leans on the rules of chivalry to demand an honorable duel. One of the knights steps up to face him in single combat, charging him with his lance leveled. He misses, rolling a pair of 1s on his 2 attacks. The other 2 each kill a zombie, but it's not enough. The Grail Knights lose the fight and would flee, but the presence of Huget behind them, who has managed to rally and hold the banner high, keeps them in the fight. While this is going on, the rest of the battle begins to wind down as the sun begins to set. The zombies charge at Lorence, who flees. She fails to regain her nerve, but the Knights of the Realm do so. This leaves them the only unit in their quarter of the battlefield, an important factor for victory points in this final turn. In response to the threat on the Damsel's life, the Hippogryph charges at the zombies and kills 2 of them. This isn't enough to win the fight, but it doesn't matter, as the Hippogryph passes its leadership test. With so many dead on either side, and the sun now setting on the battlefield, the only thing left to do for both sides is retreat. Having lost his black coach, Banshee, and most of his knights, Alex knows even if he did take the town, he wouldn't be able to hold it against the greedy lords of the region. The knights, meanwhile, know that fighting to the death with the necromancer won't do them well. They wisely choose to withdraw from the field, protecting the bodies of their fallen, to bury within the town's cemetery where they belong. Before we look at the tactics used, if you enjoyed this battle report, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Every bit helps the channel grow and ensure there are plenty more Warhammer battle reports to come. Tune in next week for Delor's Vengeance, a 500-point warband game between Dark Elves and Hordes of Chaos. And now, on to the tactics review. I fear that this channel is going to turn into one that only produces draws anytime I play big games. Both Voight's Folly and this battle turned out to be draws with only around 200 victory points of difference between each side. Admittedly, that's partly because I don't play for victory points most of the time, but I'd still expect to see some bigger difference in the kill counts. Either way, I enjoyed the outcome of this battle. I was worried early on it wouldn't be very interesting, but by the midpoint I found myself invested. Both sides simultaneously did and didn't execute their plans. The Bretonnians did get to perform their devastating cavalry charge, except on the left flank where the Knights of the Realm refused to budge. Meanwhile, the Vampire Counts did complete their countercharge with the Black Knights on the right flank, right into the Grail Knights who destroyed them. Broadly speaking, I'm not too sure what to say about either side. Olivier's move to threaten the Black Coach and tie it up might have been impactful, but in my past attempts to use a Black Coach, it's not done a lot, so I don't know if it's actually just a bit overpriced, or I've just never used it right. If the Knights of the Realm had actually charged, he would have been much more useful, as with the Black Knights tied up, the flank would have certainly collapsed. Magic in this game was also fun. I have not used a lot of it before, and it was kind of exciting having such a powerful wizard. This game is definitely impacting a future game, as I want to make use of a more magic-heavy high elf list in the future, and see just how far I can push things, and how much fun it is. The Bretonnian magic phase wasn't much fun, however, with no spells ever going through. That was unfortunate, as I think the Lore of Beasts is an interesting one, which I'd like to use more of in the future. Finally, I would like to highlight that the Bretonnians had some real bad luck in this game. The sheer number of failed leadership tests, and the fact that Huget missed all of his attacks when charging the zombies, coupled with the Grey Knight's inability to hit Alex in the end, felt a little unreasonable to me.